but we're not laughing this time.
We're all
He
serious.
segued wrong,
It's
so we're
because
not
Todd,
laughing.
dude. He's the boss.
Look at him. He's
Todd's
got
the
a straight
boss,
face
so
and everything. Like, I'm here to do business.
Everybody's serious right now.
Yeah,
Todd,
that's what Thomas's thing. He's like,
The boss is
It's
in.
after 5 o'clock, Todd. You don't have to be serious.
I'm gonna go get a Bud Light.
Then we're breaking rules.
Technically, I'm not, am I? Oh, wait, I'm salary, right? I guess it should be good.
We're punched out.
If you're in Germany, you'd be all right.
Yeah.
Dakota, you're
Right.
21, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm 23 now.
Oh, that's right.
What?
I'm getting old. I know. It's catching up to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, when did you first meet Dakota, Todd? Like what age was he?
2007.
Yeah, so probably 10.
Yeah, at the New Mexico Roar Nationals.
Yeah, you were team manager there, I think.
Albuquerque.
Yeah. It's just.
We have a picture of that somewhere, right?
Yeah, like a picture.
Mom posted it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell my funny story about that I remember about Albuquerque and Dakota?
Sure.
It's not a good one.
Uh-oh.
So, do you remember Don Sanchez?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I got along well with Don Sanchez, so I was a lucky one. And I remember Dakota, you were still junior, right? You were still junior back then.
Yeah, I don't think I ran the class. But
it was Scott Spears' track, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So your mom went out and marshaled for you, and then all of a sudden, Dawn gets on the announcer and she's like, "Dakota Fenn to your marshal spot," and your mom's like waving and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here," and she's like, and she didn't, it was quiet, and then she's like, "Dakota Fenn to your marshal spot," and your mom's like, "Dawn, I'm right here. I'm marshaling for him." And then all of a sudden, Dawn, for the third time, she's like, "This is your final warning. Dakota Fenn, get your marshal spot." And then you had to go out and marshal. But that race was that was the track that had the big cowbell in that one corner that everyone just kept nailing. It was, I think it was a 90-degree left-hander, and they put a little cowbell on a stick.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Little D wasn't corner marshaling.
I was a little guy. I would have been like 10 there. So usually my mom, I don't remember when when I started marshaling, I would do like some of the I don't know, like smaller, club racing and stuff if it wasn't like 8 scale or something. But when I was younger, she would usually marshal for me.
All right, so I think we're about 3 minutes in. We're still kind of waiting for the people to join up. Hi everybody. Hope everybody's doing well in this time. This is another Thursday night talking with TLR. We've got a special guest, man. We're talking old school right now with Dakota. The first time Todd Hodge ever met Dakota, 2007 New Mexico Nationals. And Dakota was what, 10? You said you were 10?
Yeah.
Man, and now 23, drinking beers and alcohol and driving around.
So I've got a strange question for you, Dakota.
Yeah.
Do you know how old Ty is? Ty Tessman?
I believe he's 3
12?
years older than me.
So at that race, I was still at Hobbyco, and we went there, and we actually pitted with the Tessmans all weekend because that's when Ty was running Futaba and Checkpoint, and O'Donnell and all that stuff too. But at that race, it was Futaba and Checkpoint, and we pitted with them all weekend long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so funny to see, like, you were a little kid back then, he was a little kid back then, and now look at where both of you are today.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of cool. Hey, all right. I think we need to make a special shout out before we get started to Brendan Van Staden. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, and he got up to watch this episode. So big shout out to him.
Hardcore right there, 2 a.m. and up for a Todd Hodge interview, man. A super fan. Yes, me. All right. So I'm trying to find that picture. I can't find it. I looked around on your mom's Facebook and I couldn't find that picture of you and Todd back.
Maybe I was the one that posted it.
Yeah, I think it was you. Was it on your driver page or?
Yeah, it went on my page.
All right, let me take a look. I definitely want to bring that in there since we're talking about the old school times. Todd being a guest, Dakota being one of the regs here. Let's see. I see one with Scotty Ernst, man. That's the only one I could find.
I've never seen it.
I saw it too, and I was amazed because obviously Todd looked a lot different. You looked totally different, as you know, being so much smaller. I can't find it. Anyways, all right, let's start off with the traditional dad joke. We've got Scott versus Todd Hodge in the dad joke battle.
Oh, I didn't know this was a competition.
Dude, yeah.
Oh yeah, every guest has to try and outdo me.
Yeah, the king of dad jokes. To see if you can get one. Yeah. So Dakota's also a judge today. So we get so let's start off with it sounds like Todd's not ready with his dad jokes. So I'll give him some time. Let's start off with Scott.
Oh no, wait, guest always goes first.
Yeah, I know.
I'm down. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Oh, you're ready? Oh, shoot. Okay. All right, let's do it. All right, here's the battle. Let's go, Todd. What you got?
What do you call a hippie's wife?
Ooh, I don't know this one.
Mississippi.
That's a good one.
That's pretty good, Scott. That was a quick delivery, man. He was just like, bam.
Yeah. Well, mine's kind of an embarrassing dad joke, but did I ever tell you about the time that I bought a pair of shoes from a drug dealer?
Yikes. No.
I don't know what they were laced with, but I was tripping all day long.
Okay. I my vote goes to Scott. Very creative. Very nice.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. It had like different layers in Scott's joke. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, a couple entendres there.
Yeah, awesome. Let's check out who's watching right now. So we got Brendan, he's up 2 a.m. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Jared Ment, what's going on? Jeffrey the Man Kaufman. Man, Jeffrey Kaufman, what a guy. He's always checking these out, paying attention. Being a pillar, man. We got Chris Gillian.
I don't think Chris has missed a single episode yet.
Dude, yeah,
he's a local guy. Yeah, you'll meet him pretty soon. As soon as we get back to Impact, you'll get to meet Chris.
Sweet, man. Can't wait to race with everybody. Unfortunately, lockdown's got us kind of bummed right now. Mike Marshall, what's going on? Dale Herrick saying what's up to Todd. Got Kyle Munson. What's up, Kyle? Good to see
Barry
you.
Baker.
Good old BB, the fabulous Barry. How did your guys' live thing go with Barry and Trinity? Was that good?
Yeah. Yeah, super good. Him and Jim brought back some old, stories from back in the day, and
Jim Dieter, man, what a legend too. All right, Mike Brown, what's going on? Old JRX2 in the rafters, man. Everybody keeps talking about a JRX2 re-release. That might be popular, huh? Ryan Doreen, what's going on, buddy? Derek Stevenson and Tom Bolger. Is that the proper way to say his last name? Bolger?
Yeah,
Bolger?
He gave Scott the win on the dad joke.
Yeah, Tony Griff. Yeah, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. We just got finished with the dad joke. Scott's got a pretty good one. I think he does a little bit of cheating, a little too much research.
He's got a list prepared.
Yeah, he's got like 10 jokes already to go. So you just got to pick one.
Yep.
All right. So we got Todd. We got the next part of the interview, which is the 10 of 10, where we go through 10 questions, asking every guest the same 10 questions. So number 1, you ready for this?
Yes. Do I have a choice?
Right. Number 1. best thing about RC racing.
Oh man. So for me, the best thing about RC racing, I don't know, it's kind of two parts. Because when I was younger, it was the competitive nature of it. As I've gotten older and kind of progressed through my career, I think it's just the people. You go to the track, it's, like, for example, I don't get to many races anymore. I went down to Reedy race. I went out to Dirt Nitro Challenge on Sunday, and it was just so good to see everybody, whether they're on TLR or Associated or Mugen. It's just so great to see the people that you've worked with all this time. So the older I get, the more that I appreciate that, because, we're all unique individuals being so committed to RC racing, and just to see these people that have done it for so long.
Who are some of the standouts that when you go to, like you said, you don't go to these races very often. Who are some of the standout people you look forward to connecting with or reconnecting with?
Definitely Dakota, just because we have such a long relationship. I enjoy seeing Barry just because, we went back, even though we weren't on the same teams. When we were racing touring car, we traveled quite a bit together, going to different races, so that was always fun. And then it's just the random people. Like the Dirt Nitro Challenge, I stepped into pit lane, or close to pit lane, and I saw TJ Bradley, who I haven't seen in, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. And he's a guy I used to race 12 scale with. So it just takes me way back. So, as you just stumble across people you haven't seen in years, it's just awesome to go approach them like, hey, what's going on? You're like, oh, I haven't seen you in so long. It's good to see you. And it brings back a lot of just good memories, of racing no matter where you were.
Awesome. Yeah, it right now it's also like, even though we have the short break, we're not able to see some of these guys. I haven't seen Dakota probably in the longest in quite a while and stuff. Just
yeah.
Not able to go racing, but it's tough. It's nice. It'd be super nice when we get back, and I think more people are going to appreciate the time a little bit more once we get back to going racing again, for sure. All right, number 2, best era of RC, the old school era or the new school era?
I'm partial to the old school and the rear motor cars. I see what happened, what's going on with mid motor cars and how fast they are. And I appreciate the speed they have. But when you just go back to mid motor and, running IFMAR pins or big shots or whole shots. Yeah, rear motor. It's fun back then.
Yeah, it's definitely different. The racing's kind of still the same, but driving the cars and what you're playing with nowadays, it's definitely different. Kind of a different complex set of tools, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more opposite. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's completely flipped. Crazy.
Number 3, good questions. Always debatable. Best current driver in the world.
Oh, that's Dakota. Because when Dakota's car's right, he's untouchable. He's pretty amazing. There's other people that definitely rank up there with him. There's obviously people that have world championships and, maybe not even more national championships. Dakota has a ton of national championships, but I don't know. It's just because I'm so close to Dakota and just worked with him and seen him progress and grow as a driver and just seeing his raw talent. I remember when we were, Dakota will remember this, it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago when we went out and tested in Arizona with the 8X and we were struggling with some things. And Dakota's like, it's hard to drive. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You look so good with it. And I picked it up, and I couldn't even go down the straightaway. I'm like, holy crap, this kid's good. I was just blown away. I literally couldn't go down that big straightaway at Fear Farm. And Dakota is just railing around the track, and he's just like, yeah, it's hard to drive. You're watching him, and you're like, well, you're making a mistake here and there, but you're pretty dialed,
Yeah. Definitely one of the most talented. It's probably definitely one of the most talented I've ever seen, for sure. Okay, so this one leads up into the next question. Best driver of all time.
Ooh.
You've seen a lot of drivers in your heyday.
Not that
And it
you're,
could be
not that you're
on-road
that
or
old,
off-road.
but you know.
No,
Yeah.
not like you're ancient. No.
On-road or off-road, doesn't matter.
This is a really good question. I mean, there's three people that come into my head. Wow, man, it's hard. I mean, you have Brian Kinwald. I had the opportunity to work with David Spichette a ton on road, and that guy taught me so much working with him. And I mean, you can't argue Masami.
Yeah.
Just his trophy room. But man, overall, I don't know. I have to say BK. I just working with him closely over the years. Yeah, I totally appreciate everything that guy has accomplished. His commitment to racing, right? And while he always did it for the right reason, it was like he did it because it was fun. He was all about having fun, and being at the races was fun to him. And I think that's a lot of times these drivers forget about. It's just having fun. And if BK was at the track for 15 hours a day, it was because he was having fun. Even though he ran 2 packs, it was there because he was out there tinkering and trying stuff and just so in tune with it. So, I mean, rest of the soul, man.
His approach was a lot different than everybody else's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that you could argue that Drake is just as committed, but just the amount of time that I guess BK just spent at the track, even, after his prime, and when he wasn't ill, I mean, he was still at the track and just loved the atmosphere, and it was all about the people. So yeah, I would have to go for BK on that one.
BK.
Just because.
Interesting.
All right. Now, let me throw my caveat whenever we ask this question. Do you feel that there is a difference between the best driver in the world and the best racer in the world?
Okay, so when you say best racer in the world, and
do you think there's a difference between the best driver and the best racer, or the most talented racer versus the most talented driver?
I mean, when you guys are asking these questions, I'm like spitting out like who comes to mind first, right? And so when you say best driver and just driver IQ, Cavalieri still impresses me. I mean, the fact that, he could blow out in the first 15 minutes of a nitro main, you're like, Cavalieri's done, it's over. And, in 50 minutes in, you're like, who's in second? Cavalieri. He's only 2 seconds behind the leader, and at the 15-minute mark, he was a lap down.
Yeah.
But, and the nitro racing is just so intense that these guys aren't making many mistakes, if any, so for him to kind of just have the smarts to drive the car to its pace and just be smart about it, and put the emotions aside. I mean, he's probably one of the best.
Yeah, there's something really impressive about him, and that every time I see it once in a while, that after, no matter how bad he does in a qualifier or in a main, like from watching his car, you can't tell that he's having a bad run. It's only when after he gets back to the pits, then everybody knows that he had a bad run. You know what I mean? But in the moment, he's so collected. Every time you can never tell. He looks like he's on a TQ run, and even like all the time. Even if he crashes or after crashes, he looks like he's still running. His car is dialed. He looks like he's in sync. But then you get off the track, and obviously he didn't do as well as he's hoped, and you can tell that he's unhappy. But like his demeanor never changes in a race, which is very rare. I think one of the few drivers that actually has that.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He's really good at that fine line of just knowing what the limit is, and he doesn't cross it over. And if he does it for a short time where he won't make the mistake. So he just finds himself, no matter where he's at, fast lap time wise, he's always right there because he just doesn't make any mistakes. He's solid.
Yeah, he's a tough guy to shake, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So next question we've got. What is the #1 track in the world to you?
On road or off road?
Man.
Putting him on the spot, Thomas.
In today's world or 20 years ago?
I guess anytime. There's no time restraint on this one.
Okay, so if we just go anytime, it was CRCRC in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh.
Which one?
The one that was at the fairgrounds. That one was just always awesome, just from when I was in Ohio. Just everybody coming from all the different areas. You know, I came from the Youngstown, like Cleveland area, over to Columbus. You would have Drake coming from the Michigan area, Bill Bridges. Then you'd have Dean Carnes coming up from the Dayton area. You would have Dunbar and Schweitzer coming up from the Kentucky area and Indiana. And it was epic races that we used to have on those Sundays, you know. And I kind of talked about this, I think, on the Losi videos, the 40th, you know, just Adam would go down there and race Nitro on Saturday and then be there on Sunday to race electric, where everybody else just pretty much just showed up for electric. But that was kind of like our SoCal scene for that Region 5 area. So to me, it was just, you know, if you won there on Sunday, you were the man for the week, right? Like people were scratching your heads, like, you know, Rob Schaefer or Chad Buffalo, you know, just scratching your heads like, what did Rob do this weekend? Why was he so much faster than us, you know? And it was probably one of my favorite places to go race.
This is when mod. It was just when stock and mod was separate, right? And everyone would race stock, and then stay to race mod as well.
Yeah, at the Winter Champs, yeah. But I'm talking more on the level.
Just the area.
But I'm talking on the level of like the weekly club racing, okay. And then we kind of build up to the Winter Champs. Yeah, so just more on a club level side of it. So I think on road, for me, the best track would be a toss up between, probably Ripon Speedway. Just all the curbing and be able to connect the dots and just carry the momentum. And it's just like, if you miss the end of the straightaway, it just screwed up your whole lap. So that was always a fun track to go race on. And that's going back to 1999, 2000, when they had the Reedy races up there.
So I take it that's probably the next question is best race event in the world?
I'd have to say, I mean, first one that comes to mind is the Reedy off-road race. It's just, I like how it's separated from the pros to the lower, you know, the called the B-level guys. It lets those guys shine while the pros kind of battle it out with heads-up racing. The pros are so good; it's awesome to watch them dice it out, and just the passes that, you know, you watch national and world championship A-mains every day, right? And no matter what, you can move those guys around on the grid, and it's just they're always just the level of the intensity that they're putting on the track, and just the cleanless. Well, mostly the clean driving is just awesome to watch. So it's fun from a spectator point. It's fun from if you're coming up through the ranks point. I mean, I've experienced both, from racing open to racing invite, and it being off-road. I've always liked that race.
Definitely a special one. I think for almost everybody's bucket list race right there.
Yeah.
All right. So next question, number 8: carpet or dirt?
Dirt.
Easy one. Have you done much carpet at all, Todd?
No, I've went testing with Frank a few times. I think probably after a while, I'd probably enjoy it a little bit more than dirt. But I prefer dirt.
When you were running a lot of your on-road stuff, were you running mostly paved? Or did you run some carpet?
I would say it was a majority carpet, yeah. So I'm saying more from an off-road, from dirt to obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were mainly, I mean, the whole winter you'd be indoors on carpet, right? Through all the different races.
Yeah.
So then, okay, off-road or on-road, which is your favorite?
Yeah, this is a good question for Todd.
I'm puzzled.
Well, that's tough because there's a lot of passion and drive that went into both categories for me. Put a lot of effort, into both categories, but more so on the on-road side. So, and that's kind of where I came from, just being from the Midwest and racing all like the Cleveland Indoor Champs, the World Nationals. I used to get race up in Michigan called the Winter Nats. So I would have to say probably on-road for me.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Very cool.
And it's just because I went through all the development of the Triple XS. Went to the 2001 Nationals with a brand new car. Paul Lemieux just came on the team. He TQ'd and won. We had like 4 or 5 cars in the main. We totally smoked the TC3. They couldn't figure out how we were running one-ways on that track with a hairpin at the end of the straightaway.
Ethan and Matt are saying the F words.
Okay. Hey.
Uh-oh.
All right. We got mini Todd here.
What's your name, little buddy?
What's your
You
name?
can't even hear me.
What's your name?
Coop.
Oh, Coop. All right. Hey, stop.
And Ethan and
Okay,
Matt are
okay.
saying the F.
Okay.
Sorry. Shoo, kid. Shoo.
Where were we at?
On-road, why you like on-road better than off-road? Figuring about the one-way.
Oh, yeah,
how the team associate guys couldn't figure out the one-way setup.
Yeah,
At the end of the
so
straightaway.
Jim Dieter actually gave us some inserts, some cross inserts, and we had a ton of air gap in our tires. We were all running Sorex tires, and that air gap, we were just able to throw the cars in the turn really hard. We were running anti-dive in the front end, so we were actually able to go down in the straightaway, hit the brakes, where everybody was just scratching their heads. So we pretty much dominated that race with a brand new car, and that was awesome. And then, after running that car for a few years, we developed the JRXS, the front motor car. And I remember going into Junior's office one day, and he kind of had the concept all kind of pieced together with Lexan. And he had the motor position there, and he's like, the battery behind it, motor position in the front. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. And he's like, it's going to disrupt things, and it's probably going to be a very hard path to go down, especially if it doesn't work. And I'm like, hey, I'm down for it. And we went down that path, and it was pretty painful because, on certain tracks, low bite tracks, the car didn't have a lot of grip. On medium bite tracks, it was really fast. But then high grip tracks, it just started pushing. So then that developed the JRXS where we moved the motor back. And that's before we were getting into LiPo batteries and brushed motors. So then, the rear motor car was good. We had some decent results with it. I think Mike Dumas won a couple races with it. But I think it was a car that was ahead of its time, and we still hear that to this day. I have a few people asking me, like, "Hey, you guys can bring the Type R back," and I'm like, "Dude, we're not going on racing."
Yeah, people want to bring a street weapon back, man. I see it like work on an on-road car, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
Do you think either did off-road come easier to you, or did on-road come easier to you?
I think on-road came easier to me because I remember, I don't know, it was one of the carpet races. It was a War National at Minreg in the gymnasium there, and it was rubber tires, and I think it was definitely the street weapon. I think it was before I moved to California. And I went to the race, and Joel was on the Losi, Josh Cyril. I think Josh was on there. We were running street weapons, and it was just kind of the start of the whole on-road craze. And I was mainly just an off-road guy at the time. And I just threw down my street weapon and just went out there and wheeled the thing. And I think I qualified like 7th in the pro main, and then finished 8th. And I'm like, man, this is easy, But then it just started getting, then Associated jumps in with a TC3, and then Mark and Billy and all these other drivers are running, and it just got really competitive and harder to do good because you got so many of those drivers. I still think any off-road driver that races on-road has a way easier time adapting than an on-road driver going to off-road. because the car dynamics you learn
For
how to
sure.
control the car, hitting a jump, or even counter steering or stuff like that. On-road drivers just kind of struggle with that a little bit to kind of adapt because they're always, the smooth arcs and stuff, making sure they're never breaking traction. Well, meanwhile, off-road, you're just like, sideways, you're counter steering or twisting the car up in the air, and guys are like, oh, I hit a dot, my car's flying. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I've only dabbled in on-road a few times, but every time I do it, I always feel like on-road's a little bit more simple because, at least for me, in my mind as I'm driving, it's less it's less complex because I don't have to worry about the jumps. I don't have to worry about how my car takes off. I don't have to worry about the weight, in the air and where it lands. I don't have to that whole difficulty, that whole skill set of jumping. You don't have to do. So when I drive on road, I feel like it's very I don't know, 2D versus 3D. Obviously,
exactly.
So it's a little bit more simple to interpret for me as an off-road driver.
Well, that's what I call carpet racing. It's three-dimensional on-road racing.
Yeah, it's definitely that for sure. All right, next question is, we can get more into those topics later, but let's just kind of truck through these. Next question is, white wheels or yellow wheels? Help us settle the big debate.
So my livery usually supported both. But I would go with yellow. I think yellow just has a more aggressive look.
It's just poppy, right? I mean, it just has more effect.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, or second to last question: treads or slicks?
I love slicks. Slicks are so fun to drive. It just takes the guesswork out. I mean, the tracks are hooked up. You can just be punched. Yeah. Yeah, it sucks to make, but when everybody's on slicks, I feel like it's kind of more of a fair game. Right. So it's almost like, I don't know, a double-edged sword. Okay, the last question, and the only question that matters, number 10, Longhorn or Outback? Oh, Outback, 100%.
Yeah.
Outback, 100%.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you're losing, man. You're losing bad.
You're tied.
Yeah.
3-3 right now.
Jeez.
Outback, man. Are you serious? It's so grainy. All right. So there's the 10 of 10. We've got Todd documented, and we've got his answer saved forever. So let's just, I guess, kick off with the general interview. Scott, you want to head it up?
Yeah, I got a couple of quick questions. Not part of the 10 of 10, but we kind of asked this of all of our guests. All right, so you're stuck at home with COVID-19. You can have any racetrack you want in your backyard, and you can have any vehicle you want. What is your choice? Any vehicle ever, and any track ever, type of track ever.
Wow. First one that pops in my mind is M&M Hobbies and the Triple X buggy. And that goes back to 1999. The Triple X came out. I flew out to California actually before I moved out here, and basically built my car at Losi. Went to the track. I think I qualified, I don't know, 4th or 5th in the 2.0 main. So there's a lot of good memories there. A close second would be I think it was called Sand in the Hills, Illinois. It was a hobby town, 98 Nationals, where I double X4 because I got second there.
Mm-hmm.
Lake in the Hills.
Lake in the Hills, that's it. Lake in the Hills, yep.
Yep.
Lake in the Hills.
Yep. Okay. All right, so this one we've asked Dakota and Barry. It didn't apply to our last two guests. Is there a single race that if you can go back and change the result, you would?
Yeah,
do you have any regrets?
Ooh.
Yeah, 100%. That would be the
easy one for you.
Yeah, very easy.
Wow.
It would have been I'm trying to think what year it was. It would have been the It was supposed to be the 2001 IFMAR World Championships in South Africa, but it would end up going to 2002. And it would have been the four-wheel drive main. I qualified 7th in the main and four-wheel. And in A main number 1, I was running in 2nd. I was catching Yuka. Matt had broke. He was running the Triple X4 prototype. I was catching Yuka, and the track was just blown out, and I just was driving way too hard and broke on the straightaway. Literally hit a hole in the straightaway. And then I think it was A main number 2, same scenario. Came from 7th on the grid. I was catching Yuka, and I broke my car again, just driving way over my head. And if I could have just rewound that, and I'm not saying I could have beat Yuka, because I mean, honestly, he's probably just out there cruising at his own pace. But I could have easily made the podium. And I remember Greg Hodap ended up making the podium, finishing 2nd or 3rd. And Greg's like, "Dude, you should have got this podium trophy instead of me." And I was like, "Hey, man, it is what it is, you know." And they were these dialed wooden trophies that the track in South Africa made, you know. And it was just like, hey, it is what it is, you know. Shouldn't have drove over my head. But that's always been a problem of mine. I always drove way too hard. Just drive over the limits.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot of people out there who, including myself, who know you as Todd from Horizon or from Losi in those days. The part that I never knew is that, like, you've been a heck of a long time, and you know, to quote the term, you basically started in the mailroom and worked your way up to where you are now. Can you kind of just give us in a nutshell, kind of like how it all started, what made you move out there, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So I was working with a guy by the name of Dave Evans in Ohio. His nickname was Scooter. He was importing this GM racing product. We started that in '97, and it was motors, batteries, speed controls. And he hired me to work there, and it gave me the ability to start traveling a lot more to go to races. So about 2 years into it, I don't even know how the question came up, but they asked me if I'd be interested in coming to work at Losi, Team Losi in Chino. And, you know, I was like, yeah, like, when can I start? And they said, as soon as you can get out here. And
how
I flew.
old were you at that point?
25. Yeah.
Okay.
So then I flew out to California for the Nationals. Those ones I was talking about at M&M in 1999. At the time, as crazy as it sounds, that's when it was a 50-50%. I think it was 50-50 or maybe 51-49. But Ernie Prevetti owned part of Team Losi at that time, and Ernie was living there, and obviously working there. And I was thinking, man, I couldn't. You know, they said, yeah, come to work out here. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to work for the two big powerhouses. You got Ernie Prevetti, you know, with Trinity, and then Pops Losi and Gil Losi, you know. So it was just a dream. I'm like, and I get to move to California, get away from all the wonderful weather in the Midwest. So I literally got home after the Nationals, after running really well there, and packed up all my stuff and moved to California. And I remember, like, the first day of starting at Losi, I asked Pops, I'm like, hey, we never talked about what my salary was going to be. And he's like, well, what were you making in Ohio? And I told him, and he's like, okay, we'll pay you the same. I'm like, all right, cool. And that was it. And I was just working there and just working alongside the community. Meanwhile, it's like everything's twice as expensive, but I didn't care. You know, it's like I'm waking up on Christmas Day in 1999, looking outside, looking at palm trees and sun, you know. So, and then it just kind of grew from there, you know, just working with Junior side by side. Pops ended up buying the company back from Ernie. So it was a kind of a big fallout there. And then, I don't know, maybe a year later, Horizon bought Team Losi. So I'm like, man, this is sweet. Like, all these good companies, you know, supported by. And then, you know, like I said in the 40th, I think I said in the 40th video, just Horizon was pretty hands off for a long time, you know, and you know, we end up making some RTRs, and you know, end up managing one of those projects while being team manager and helping Junior side by side. Because at the time, I really think one of the reasons I was hired to come out of Team Losi, and nobody's ever told me this, but like, Junior had Michael, his son, his first son, who would have been like 1 or probably 2 years old at the time. They just had Nicole, so she was like a few months old. I think she was 6 months old when I came out there, right? So I think it was like, hey, we need to get somebody out here for Junior, so you can have somebody to go to the track and do the testing, so Junior could, you know, be a dad and be a husband, you know.
Good parent.
And so I would travel all the races and give feedback to Junior, what was good, what wasn't, you know, made sure all the team drivers, you know, kind of had their parts and tires and stuff. And that was back when Team Losi was really heavily into tires, and we were shipping like 70 boxes to the Winter Champs, and you know, renting a hotel room just to store the tires. And then, you know, yeah, it was insane.
Everyone used to run them. I remember that.
70 boxes
Pink
of tires.
tapers.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, and then I mean, I was working with Junior on tire development, and then you know, you fast forward a few years, and then 2007, Junior left. Bill Jarrett came out to California. I was really frustrated at that time because I was so race-minded. Horizon was really kind of stepping in and really wanting to do something with Losi at that time, and really changing the way we were doing products, which I didn't agree with it at the time. You know, and then I actually quit at one point. I actually put my notice in and just said, "Hey, I'm done. This isn't me. You know, I'm a racer." And then Bill Jarrett convinced me to stay, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to give you a job in product development," because I was at the team manager, so I was like 8 years into just traveling like every 2 to 3 weeks going to races. And I'll tell you what, it gets, while it's fun, it's when you're waking up in the morning and look at the ceiling and questioning what city you're in, or if you're even home, because you're just kind of out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it just got overwhelming. And then with just the changes, Bill's like, how about you just come into product development and be a product developer? And so I went that route. And actually, it was Richard Trujillo that said, hey, Bill, give Todd another chance. Because Bill was just writing me off. He was like, okay. So Bill listened to Richard and gave me a chance. And I remember having my first meeting with Yuka, who was director of product development. He's like, hey, I know you've had a bad attitude around here. I'm not going to put up with that. I give you 3 months. And if it doesn't work, you know, you're done. And I'm like, okay. And Yuka didn't understand my work ethic. He didn't know about my work ethic, you know. And so I, you know, 3 months in, I'm going in for my 90-day review, and I'm like, how you doing? Or how am I doing? He's like, you're the best guy I got. He's like, you're doing awesome. And then just kept developing, you know, new products and stuff like that. And then in 2010, they gave me the opportunity to be the category manager of Team Losi Racing. So that's when we started developing. We got back heavily into 10 scale. So I was basically responsible for the portfolio of all the products we were coming out with, plus developing them. Obviously working with Adam and some of the other team drivers. That's when we developed the 22. You know, the rear motor mid motor car. The rear motor mid motor car was my idea.
Game changer right there.
Yeah, and Dan Hissam was like, "You're crazy. You're just, nobody's going to run mid motor ever. This is a waste of time." I'm like, let's just do it so our product is differentiated from everybody else's. And you know, at this time, Junior had left like 3 years ago, and one thing Junior really instilled in me is like, think differently. You know, it's kind of like the Steve Jobs mentality, right? Like, instead of just making the same products, you're in the same segment of products, but like, just think differently. And to this day, I try to challenge my team with that. But that was kind of the thought process behind the 22. So yeah, and then we did the 22.4, which I didn't really care for that idea of just going back to the XX4 and making a refined version of it. I had my idea of what I wanted to do with something else that was totally outside the box, but very, very risky. But we decided to go the conservative route and develop the 22.4. And then, you know, actually during this time, I started going back to school in 2009. I think it was 2009, 2008 maybe. because I never went to college. So I started going to community college, and then I ended up going to University of Phoenix and get my bachelor's degree in business. When did I graduate there? 2013 or 14 with just a bachelor's in business. And through that time, I was still the category manager for Team Losi. And then it ended up becoming Losi. And then just through changes of different management and stuff like that, a few people leaving on their own and stuff, it just gave me the opportunity to oversee all of the Surface stuff and oversee all the product development, just become the category manager of Surface. So that's a quick, 5-minute way of just telling you the last 20 years of my life. Yeah, exactly. And it's when you guys would ask me like, who's the best driver, who's the best racer, what's your favorite track? It's just like, it's all these thoughts just drop in your head, like, and it just takes you back. It's like Paul Wynn mentioned here. Todd and I battled it out in 2005 or 2004 Roar Nats. And I don't know what it was. Me and Paul Wynn were always battling each other. Like, I'm way taller than Paul. I'm just a way bigger dude. It was just like,
Good battles or bad battles?
No, it was good battles. It was good battles. I mean, they were heated. I'd rub them and stuff. And
who would win? Who would you say wins more out of those battles?
Oh, geez. I would say it was a good 50-50 split.
Really?
Paul is really good. He's still good. I still see his name in results and stuff.
Yeah, he still throws it down, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. You're bringing up memories here. Like with Yuka and Spachette and Bill and all them. It's crazy, like how quick time flies.
Yeah, it's even today. I mean, you look back when we're going through all this COVID stuff, and here I am in my laundry room, and it's almost it's a month and a half that we're into this, and it's just amazing. I mean, we're lucky enough to work in a really good industry where things are still going well, but just to that point, Dakota, just the time flies, and it goes back to doing the things you love to do. I mean, I remember the 2007 Nationals when I met you. There was so many things that happened that prior to that and during that event. One was Gil Losi Jr. left Horizon and went to go work for Kyosho, and that was the first race without Gil Losi Jr. at Losi/Horizon.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Two, and he was at the race with Kyosho.
For Kyosho.
For Kyosho, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? He's working for Kyosho? This is just screwed up. Two, meeting you for the first time because I heard all about this stuff, about this young kid coming out of Michigan and how fast he is. And I remember watching you in Stadium Truck and just like blown away with just your car control. And like you're expecting to see some adult on the driver's stand, and there's this little kid up there, and you're just like, and then just to meet your parents and all that stuff and start that relationship. And then the other one, and this is it's kind of a hard one, but we lost a team driver that weekend. Joe Gerzon passed away at the age of 37 of a heart attack. And I remember Gil Losi Jr. coming up to me and say, "Hey, I just got a text message. Joe Gerzon, who was a Team Losi driver for many years since the 80s, passed away." And I'm just like, what is going on? And it's just like certain things you just triggers those memories, So that event was pretty impactful. I can't even. Who won that race? I mean, I know you dominated the juniors class, but like, I don't even know who won. I mean, that's the thing, right? Those memories stick with me that much, but then I can't even remember who won the race, right?
Yeah, all the details.
I remember Cavalieri was super fast, but I remember in one of them he broke because he hit that small pole with the cowbell on it, because it was a 90-degree left-hander. And if you jump, and there was a jump there, and if you hit the jump, you could cut that whole corner off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy. Let's jump into some questions here. So Todd, whenever we get these questions, we always go back to Dakota because Dakota's got the perfect line. He's got it well rehearsed. So we just give these questions to him. But since you're here, we're going to give it to you. So Doug Rucker asks, will there be a TLR 1/10 truggy?
Man, that's been a debated discussion in the office. When we were developing the 22X4, I'm watching, just the different races and stuff like that. And we've had those discussions. And Frank oversees all the product development for the 10 scale side of the category. And I would say it's been pretty heated discussions. Like I'm saying, hey, we should do a 10 scale truggy. And Frank's like, I don't think it's worth it. And I'm like, well, if we jump into it, it's going to grow the class. It's going to create more excitement. We haven't had that discussion since the 22X4 has shipped. I think we'll just wait and see kind of how it progresses. But I still, to this day, think you're definitely not going to sell as many as you would buggies, but I think it's just a great class that just the average Joe goes and has fun. It's just like a truggy, right? Any scale truggy. Why does everybody want to run truggy? Everybody comes off the driver's stand like, dude, my truggy's so dialed because it has, it's so much better than my buggy. I'm like, yeah, because the buggy's created the holes and the tires are twice the size of the holes. No wonder it's dialed, right? And it's got way more travel and stuff, So to answer the question, will there be a truggy? Not sure right now.
Yeah. And then I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I might as well now. I'm actually working on a project right now of a 22X4 truggy.
I hope Frank's not listening. Is he in
Yeah,
the comments
no.
here?
But I have it. I might as well try it just to see, and that's the thing is like you have those little pockets of where that class is big. And right here in the Midwest, we get, a solid heat of them every single weekend at Impact Raceway. But why not throw ours down and take it away from all these Technos and associated guys?
Yeah.
But all right, next question. Greg Farber asks, will TC ever make a comeback in the U.S.? I wish.
I think it just needs to come back to the basics on that. It needs to be simplified. I really think that I'll say it. I think X-Ray screwed it up for us. I have a lot of respect for that company and the stuff they've done. But the amount of, a new car every year and making people, spend $500, $600, $700 on new touring cars, it just wasn't healthy. It wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
You think about the heyday, you go back to the TC3, the Triple XS, when a touring car was $250 to $280 to get a base car because it was all molded parts out of plastic, out of graphite or plastic. It was the barrier of entry was way lower. And until we can kind of, if touring car is here right now and that basic was here, it really needs to come back down to here for it to kind of start again. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Okay. Tony Griff, Thomas, he wants to know what kind of headsets you have and if you do any gaming.
Yeah, they're actually gaming headsets. They're made by SteelSeries Arctis Pro Wireless. But yeah, I the gaming stuff is actually really nice just because they're all incorporated with headphones, good sound, like a microphone and everything, and they cross over. They can do Bluetooth, so they can hook up to your cell phone or your computer. So it's just they're pretty nice.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that question? I actually asked Thomas that yesterday after we had our meeting. like these ones, like my head is so big, like you can see him stretching out a little bit, and I saw Thomas's, and I'm like big old foam. I'm like,
yeah, what size are those things?
Yeah.
Well, they're expandable. They have a headband like a ski goggle, so that you can kind of adjust them. But
yeah, so are these. But man, I should have looked at the head diameter before I bought them.
Should have got the Gigantor model.
Next question is from Dale Herrick. What would be your favorite kind of car to drive, on-road or off-road? Which we kind of talked about already, but...
I got one. 112 scale, my CRC carpet knife.
Interesting.
Just because... when we were going to all the touring car races, I started racing 12 scale modified. Frank Calandra, he was my first sponsor, CRC, back in 92 or 93 when I won the Halloween Classic DNS Hobbies. And I think at the time, it was actually before Team CRC, it was Team Class. And, Frank gave me 12 scale stuff to support me, and it was just awesome. It wasn't a T-bar car, it was a link car, which everybody was kind of questioning. A few other people started running the link cars. They were just super fun to drive. Motors were really good, so you didn't have to really throttle. You could drive pretty hard. Not like you can today. Obviously, you can drive a lot harder today with brushless and lipo. But yeah, probably 12 scale carpet knife. And I'm sure 12 scale's come a long way. I mean, I heard now they're running spools in the rear, which is just insane. One of my buddies told me from Ohio. I love those little bull ring tracks. You go to the indoor champs, U.S. indoor champs. Back in the day, it was at the Holiday Inn in Independence, and it was a 95-foot long track, 40 feet wide, and literally a maze. Yellow boards. That was my first RC race ever going to at the age of like 14 or 15, I think. I don't know. It was like in the S main and stock 12 scale.
Crazy. All right. Next question here from Luke. What's your most memorable single race event you've ever attended, and do you ever plan to start racing again more regularly? Which we keep asking that all the time too. So
yeah. Most memorable single race event. Okay, it was probably the '97 Reedy race. Man, that's a long time ago. 23 years ago. '97 Reedy race. I flew out. Me and Chris Bing. So Chris Bing had just won the Nationals as a privateer at Butler, the World Nationals. Me and him both flew to California. He was in the invite class because he won Nationals, so he was automatically an invite. And I went out there and raced open, and ran a Losi, obviously a Team Losi car in two-wheel drive, and a track that I used to race at, where actually the Nationals were, called Wagon Hill Hobbies. The owner, Jeff Hyatt, said, "Hey, I heard you're going to the Reedy race. I know you don't have a four-wheel drive car. Give me a list of parts. I'll buy you whatever four-wheel drive car you want. Just give it back to me when you're done." So I put a list of parts together for a Yokomo car, right? So he gets all this parts, sends them to me. I mean, it's just carte blanche, like just whatever you want, Todd. Just I'll support you for a four-wheel drive, so you can go race two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive at Reedy. And so I go out to the Reedy race, and I remember on the airplane we're flying, and I think Bing was I was in the middle seat, and Bing was in the window seat, and I think I could tell Bing was a little nervous with flying. He's like, "Do you think the clouds will catch us if the plane falls out of the sky or something like that?" And I'm like, "What are you saying, dude? Quit! You're freaking me out,
The clouds will catch us.
So this story's actually really good.
Dang. This guy sounds funny.
So we go there, and that's when they broke out so they ran the double X4 at the '96 Butler Nationals as a prototype that had magnesium machine chassis. They had a few production cars at the '97 Reedy race. And all the invite guys got the cars. And then two open guys got the cars. And it was Albert Gordado and Alex Guerrero, both who were favored to win four-wheel drive at that race. So we get to California, we go there. I'm all bummed. I'm like, "Damn, man, you guys get the car and I don't, just like all team drivers would be." And I remember getting there, and Rich is like, "Hey, you're going to drive the team van." And he looked at Bing, and he's like, "You do not drive it. Todd's driving it. You do not drive it." And I'm like, "Geez," because Bing had this past of just kind of being a smart ass and causing issues and stuff like that, and speaking his mind, So I'm driving the van, and we're going to the track. We're going to M&M, and we're going down Euclid, and like I need to turn on the air conditioner. Now, granted, this was like a silver and blue Astro van, right? And like, you got the gear shift out, right? Coming out of the steering wheel, I'm driving, and then like the lever for the air conditioner is like right there, and I'm like, why won't this dang thing go up? And I just push, and as I push up the air conditioner lever, it puts the vehicle in park, and I'm doing like 50, and it's all and just dies. It just stops running, and things like, what did you do? And I'm like, I was just trying to turn on the air conditioner. And I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, start the car and see if it runs. And we started, ran. He's like, I can't believe you got away with this. He's like, that was me. Transmission would have been blown up, and I would have been in trouble.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we go to the race. I end up, so with Bing running invite, me running open, I asked, hey, Bing, could I share the car with you? And I'll run, because we were both running for Trinity at the time. Team Losi Trinity. Wait, no, I was GM. I don't think I was Trinity at that time. No, I was GM. Anyways, so Pops and Junior agreed to it that we could switch off, and I ran Bing's car in open, and we swept the race. Guerrero did win. Guerrero was second, and I was third with the XX4. And so I got to practice with the Yokomo car all during the races. I think I actually ran it in the first qualifier, and then I switched to the XX4, and it was automatically in the main. And that car was just a game changer. So that was probably the most memorable race, just because of just first time coming to California. Oh, and hey, here's another story. I remember landing at the airport, right? We had to fly into Ontario, California. And like, we're getting off the plane, and I'm like we're getting off the plane, and like, it's not a regular airport. Like, you get off on the tarmac and you walk into this outdoor building. And I'm like, we're in Canada. I was freaking out. And then, like, figured out, like, oh, there's palm trees and stuff. It's definitely California. So, yeah, that was one.
That'd be rough.
Yeah. And then,
do you think that you'll?
Geez, $1 million question. I still get asked that. I guess regularly, that's the hard part. To do it regularly is hard, especially in the position I'm in now. You would think it would be a lot easier for me to get to the track, but as we can all attribute, working at Horizon, there's a lot of responsibilities, and it's just at the end of the day, and been doing this for so long, it's just hard to like do it all day, be engaged in the RC, and then just go home and wrench. And with racing, it's just, you got to be very committed to it. The hardest part for me, it's not like once I get to the track, I love it. It's just getting to the track. That's the biggest challenge. Doing all the wrenching, getting to the track. But once I get to the track, it's like, it's blissful for me. It's amazing. It's just awesome to go out there and run an RC car around the track. I don't even care how fast I'm going. It's just awesome to go out there and do that, and just and to be in that mindset where you're with the car and you're just you're focusing on your lap times. I do miss that. Regularly, I don't know. We'll see as my kids get a little older and see if I can get them into it. That'll probably definitely get me there.
Yeah, I remember you stopped for a while, and then you kind of got back into doing the Reedy race for a little bit, for a few years there. I mean, it was quite a while ago, but.
Yeah, and you know what? Like the first year, I remember doing that, right? And I remember the first year I did that at West Coast, and I was like, I don't know, 12th qualifier and 2 Ahmad. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And like, I had to bump up, right? And a Boatman was TQ, and we could bump up. And I remember telling Boatman, what's his name? What's his name? Jacobowitz?
Yeah.
Do you know who Boatman is? Yeah. And I'm like, I looked across his pit. I'm like, hey, Boatman, I'm coming for you. So mad at me, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm just playing. I don't even race anymore. And he smoked me. I think he ended up bumping into the main. I didn't make the main. And then after that, it's like once mid-motor hit, man, I wasn't even close to being competitive. And then like, I'm going to the race. I went a couple, like 2 or 3 years in a row, and like not even making it out of the Saturday. And I'm just like, oh man, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be. And that's a hard part, right? Like being a competitive racer for all those years, and it's just to like not have that pace and they're like, hey,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm 2 seconds off a lap now. You know, before you're upset if you were 2/10 off a lap. Now you're 2 seconds off a lap. And then you go and practice a bunch and you're only a second off the lap. And you're like, man, all this work? No, still be a second off the lap? You know, it's just, and you think you're doing good. You're like, oh, that's a good lap. And it wasn't, you know, still a second, well, 2 seconds off Dakota. I was probably 3 seconds when I first started back run.
Jeez. All right. Another question here from Ashley Sides. I'm going to direct this one to Dakota. Anti-squat and toe on the 22X for medium bike tracks.
Yeah, for the toe, it seems like we're kind of just running center, and then for anti-squat, it seems like people are actually kind of all over the place a little bit. For the D block, I've been running the pills in the center, and then C block, I've been running one up. I could see for people who want maybe a little bit more side bite, running 0.5 up in the C block instead. That's kind of seems to be where most people are at.
Okay, sounds good. All right, got a question here from William Garcia, our number one guest from last week's show. He asked a question that we've actually asked several of our guests before, but we'll ask you this one, Todd. What's the best comeback story you've ever seen or ever been involved with?
I'm trying to remember it. I want to say it was, I don't know if it was one of our guys or somebody who just did horrible in qualifying. I can't remember the story, so pardon me. It was just, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was a nitro race. One of the guys broke every run and then ended up bumping all the way in, and then I think he actually winning. I don't know who it was.
I remember kid out of Vegas at the Roar Truck Nats in Vegas. Was it Jason Ashton? Does that sound right? He went from the bottom and bumped all the way into the A. And that was pretty amazing.
I feel like I remember like a Mescu or Robbers or someone breaking out at the Nationals.
Robbers.
Yeah, in Illinois.
Yep.
And he was
Robbers.
like in the bottom main and bumped up like all day long.
Yeah. Yep. Jesse. Crazy.
I don't know, Dakota. Maybe it was, I don't know, when was the Nationals at your home track? At your Waste Dash track?
16?
2016, I think.
2016? I don't know, man. That was a rough weekend, and I think we ended up running pretty good.
All right. I'm sorry, Todd. Two questions here from Barry Baker.
No.
Number one, how was your favorite travel buddy to Canada? And number two, how is your ACE scale program coming?
Yeah, so I think I beat Barry at that race. So we had a track, I think in Alberta.
Throw that in there.
I think it was in Alberta.
Barry.
That they flew me and Barry up to the track. And I had a few opportunities to do this with Barry. And going back to when I traveled with him. And it was a great track. These guys just, had a great on-road track set up in a park. It was an outdoor asphalt track. They had me, up there for Losi, Barry up there for Associated. I think I beat Barry there. And then those guys were so into hockey, though. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's all they talked about was hockey. And I'm like, I didn't know the sport was this big.
That's all there is in Canada.
I know, right? And then how's my ACL program going? Okay, so I told Barry Baker, I'm like, dude, if you build me an 8X, I will go to the track. I will go race it. And Barry built me this beautiful 8X. And he even went like above and beyond. And I mean, he didn't build it. I mean, it's ready to go. I just got to put tires on this thing. It even has my paint job on it. Engine's all set. I just got to literally bind it to my transmitter. And Barry's like, there's bets that you're not going to run that car by the end of the year. I'm like, Barry, don't worry about it. I got this, dude. I'll go run. I'll put it on Facebook. And I never ran. And Barry's like, I think I saw him at re-race. He's like, man, you suck. And I'm like, why? He's like, you never ran your 8 scale. I'm like, dude, I'll buy you dinner. Don't worry about it.
He probably spent like 3 days on that thing too, making it perfect.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. Yeah.
All right. Comment here from Maple Syrup. Yes, that is his name. Is it safe to say that 10 scale off-road belt cars are dead?
Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately. Yeah. Well, besides,
There's still one that rocks. There's still one. The Kitty Cat Schumacher 4-wheel drive, still belt.
Yeah. But how else does that thing have?
It's fast. So that car definitely rips on carpet.
Chris Emilio asks if you miss winding motors at all.
Yeah, so that was a hard job, man. So when I was working at GM Racing USA, I was doing all the motor winding for the US motors, and GM had all these pattern winds, right, to where you were basically stacking the wires on top of each other and make them look pretty, and it made the balancing super easy. I will say that was a very hard art to master. And I remember one day I got so mad because he kept snapping the wire, or like he would test it in the can to make sure you didn't have a short in it. And I got so mad I threw it across the room and it stuck in the wall. And there's literally an armature like just a hole through it had the shaft and all the wall. And the GM guys from Germany sent us some clocks for Christmas. And I got my clock and I just hung it right over the wall, right over the hole. But do I miss winding motors? Probably not too much. You know what was cool about that is, so there was a thing, you put the date on there, you wind it, and then you put your initials. And I'd have people hit me up like, hey man, I got your 11 double motor and it's just amazing. And I'm like, oh, right on.
That's
and
cool.
Then I actually had a guy I used to race with in Region 5, his name's Jason Tully. He sent me a message on Facebook. He's like, hey, I have one of your GM motors. Do you want me to send it to you? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it'd be cool to have it. And it was an 11 double, actually. And he sent it to me. And, dude, the first thing I do, I get it out of the envelope. I rip it open. I tear it apart. And I'm looking at it. And I'm like, yep, it says TH on it. This is pretty rad.
Wow.
That's
so you're
cool.
telling me we've got Todd Hodge hand-wound modified motors out there.
Yep.
Initial TH.
Yep.
Wow. That'd be cool to have, man. That's like a piece of history that, if you didn't really know, who wound all the motors for GM. It's like,
Did you put it in a little glass case and everything?
You want me to go get it? I can show you real quick.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, a piece of
It's in
history.
my toolbox. I'll be
Start the timer.
he's like gonna go use the restroom. He's gonna get a drink.
Get some dinner.
Dang, man, he's
So
a
he
lot more
comes
than
back like 45
Man.
minutes later.
Finishing up his dessert.
How cool is that? Todd Hodge hand-wound modified motor. That'd be cool.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I never knew that he did all this stuff. I knew he was team manager for Losi back in the day. I didn't know he was a part of all these projects. I didn't know he was, more of a on-road racer than off-road racer. I mean, that's pretty cool, man.
I love on-road.
And he, made world's finals. Like he's been at the top.
Oh, he lost it.
I figured you guys would still be talking.
We were.
Yeah.
Okay. You're just all silent looking at the cameras.
That's because we were talking about you. Saying when you came back, we had to
We thought you were gonna be gone for longer. Get some dinner. And
Yeah, I thought you were probably eating ice cream.
So there it is right there. You can barely see the letters.
Wow.
So this was built in April of 1999. It used 19 and a half gauge and 19 gauge wire. So I don't know if you can see the numbers there.
You can almost see the wire work, man.
Nice.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. So, I mean, doubles were super easy.
Wow, that is nice.
So doubles were easy. Obviously, singles were super easy. Triples got a little challenging. Quads were just a nightmare. Quints, forget it.
For those who don't know how motors, what the turns mean and what the double, triple, singles, could you explain that quickly for some of the new guys or the people that don't have the RC history?
Yeah, so basically the lower the turn. So the turn is how many wraps of wire go around the pole of the motor, right? So you have 3 poles on the motor. So this was an 11 double, meaning it had 11 wraps of 2 strands. So that was the 11 double. So 11 wraps, 2 strands, wrap it around 11 times, wrap it around the tab, pinch the tab down, put 11 there. So you can imagine as you got higher in lines, being 13 quad, 14 quad, 15 quad, which people did like to run because they were smoother, those got really challenging. So imagine using a smaller gauge wire, so a smaller diameter, and doing a 15 quad and getting it to all stack up evenly on 3 poles. So
was it one continuous wire, or does each pole have its own wire?
No, it was one continuous wire. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you screwed up one, would you have to go back and do the whole thing again?
Well, the problem is, right, you get that stack up, right, and you're doing, like, say, a 13 quad or a 14 quad, and you're getting that stack up. And what I struggled with is, like, you get up to, like, 12, like the 12th turn, and you get up to 13, and then the wires just slide off each other, and they just go,
oh.
And you're just like, are you kidding me? That really just happened. And that's what sent the armature through the wall.
So what happens? Do you unwind it and then restart it, or is that garbage?
Honestly, I would just restart it. I would just cut the wire off, throw it in the recycle bin, and just restart with all new fresh wire.
That's cool. All right, got a question here from Chuck. Todd, how was the JRXS 4-wheel to drive?
I only drove that a few times. I think Yuka had one at the World Championships, Travis Amescu and Adam. I mean, it ran okay. The problem with that car, it had so much dog bone plunge. So that means where basically the groove in the outdrive, the pin basically went in and out through suspension travel. And just bound up the transmission because the diffs were really high in that car because it was using the 42 tooth diff gears from the Triple XS.
Gotcha. Todd, have you always ran Losi?
So that's another good story. Yeah, pretty much all Losi except for about 2 months in 1998.
2 months.
Yeah, I think it was about 2 months. I got frustrated just trying to get support and help from Team Losi. So I switched to Associated, and Mike Reedy helped me out, got me all set up with Associated. And I went to the NORCA Nationals. There was 2 nationals back-to-back in Houston, Texas. There was the Off-Road NORCA Nationals, and then the week after was the Roar On-Road Nationals. So Barry hooked me up with Yokomo. I got set up with Associated. I went to the NORCA Nationals, ran terrible in buggy. I was running terrible in truck. And then I figured something out in the setup. And I remember Adam Drake on the side of the track laughing at me. Oh, look, he can't even go down the straightaway. He spins out. He made such a mistake. Right? That just put me on a mission, right? So I figured out the setup. I remember talking to Mark. And I'm like, Mark, what did you figure out in your truck? He's like, I put 80 weight in my front shocks. And it's awesome. It just pushes all over the place, and you could drive the crap out of it. So I put 80 weight in my front shocks, went out there, made the maiden truck, and after the 3A mains, I tied for second with Mark Francis. And I remember coming down the driver's stand, and I was like, yeah, got second with her. Thinking I got second. And Richard's like, he had the points, and he's like, Todd, you got third. Mark, you got second. Losi sweeps 1 and 2. And I was like, but he was just, because Richard was just bitter that I left. And then I went to the Roar Nationals in Houston. It was like 2,000 degrees out, and I think it was just brutal. And I don't know, it was in the B main there. Probably racing against Paul Wynn.
You guys spinning each other out.
Yeah.
All right, another question here from John Smith. Will TLR or Losi ever do a re-release of vintage models? That's for you, Mr. Todd. Yeah,
you never know. I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. Oh, wait. Dakota, what is your
Yeah.
what's your answer you always do?
TLR's always working on new projects. Right?
Yeah,
You might have taught me that one, Todd.
yeah, that's in Dakota's contract. When somebody asks you about a new product, here's your statement.
Yeah, it's in highlighted bold letters.
I think it's on the first line.
I was just thinking, Todd, we didn't get to finish that story about you running Losi. So you ran those two races unassociated, and then what happened? Like,
so I came back from the race. Junior basically called me up and said, "You have to come back to Losi." Well, things have to improve, and he's like, "I'll get you to these races." And he also said some other stuff that was going to basically possibly hurt our business with GM Racing, because GM in Germany was selling the Losi product. And it was kind of like, well, if you don't come back to us, we might pull the distribution from GM Germany. And I was like, oh man, this is serious. And I had no idea they thought that highly of me. I had no idea whatsoever. So I had to call Mike Reedy back up, and I'm like, hey, due to the business and stuff, I need to go back to Losi, and packed all my associate stuff back up and sent it back to Mike. And then went back to Losi, and then, after I came back, Richard's like, did you know that after the 97 Worlds, they wanted to hire you then, but they knew the GM deal was coming, so they just, they didn't want to mess that up for Dave Scooter. But they were going to bring you out in 97, and I was just like, what? Really? I had no idea, And, it's just that racer mindset sometimes. I mean, Thomas, being the team manager, it's like, I thought it was one of those guys that should get everything, get all the parts and all that stuff, when in reality, there's not a lot of those parts to go around all the time, right? And they got to save them for the people that can win the races versus the people that, I wasn't winning races at that time. In my area I was, but so, I mean, once I got on the other side of it and saw that, I had to be the bad guy and, tell people, no, you can't have those parts. So I remember when I ended up going to work for Losi, we went to the World Championships in Finland, and me and Richard Trio had to sit there and build, I think, like 50 XXX buggies that we brought on the plane with us and took them to Finland and handed them out to all the people who ran Losi.
wow.
Yeah, that was one of my first jobs at Losi. Build all those XXX buggies. And that was before the Nikitas. So you're sitting there just doing the wrench, you're like, oh man. Luckily it was US screws, so the thread pitch was a lot greater versus a metric that's a lot tighter. The thread pitch.
Faster threaded.
Crazy. All right, Greg Farber, Thomas, you forgot to ask Todd about Outback or Longhorn. No, Greg, he did, and Thomas got shut down.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this dude is on the wrong team, going the wrong direction. So at some point, we'll have to make a visit to Longhorn so I can change his mind, man. What the heck?
Crazy. Good question here for Todd from Luke again. Are your kids interested in racing? Have you begun to introduce them to the racing scene?
So I've taken Brady to racing, to a race. Actually, me and him flew to, she's on here, Chrissy Anderson's track, Todd Anderson's track, and we went to the J Concepts race there in October of, I think, 18. And actually, that's the first time I met Thomas.
Yeah. I remember that race, actually. I was like, this is the first time I've ever seen Todd.
And I was horrible at that race, but I had fun. And, my son raced. He raced the four-wheel drive short course truck, and he was more into playing with his iPad and playing with the kids he met there. But it was cool. And honestly, he hasn't raced since then because we have another son, Nolan, and just having two young kids, it's just really hard to. Nolan is getting to the age where if I take Brady to go do something, Nolan wants to go too, right? And Nolan's not ready to go to the track yet. He's getting there. But as far as getting them into racing, I will say that when we were going to work and coming home, Nolan would ask me every day, hey, Dad, did you bring an RC car home? Let's go drive. And we still do it a little bit here and there. But honestly, I'm that mechanic that basically his car barely runs. So I have a bunch of RCs, but they're all broken, right? And I'm just trying to patch them together and stuff just to get them outside.
So Rocket, order another one.
So you work at Losi, but your son's stuff are all broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Eric Wilderson asks, Todd, are you ready to come back to Utah and race again? Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, that would Utah's. You know, we go up there for the April Fool's race, and Eric Wilderson was just like, he was always so fast up there. I remember me and Kinwald went up there one year, and Kinwald just like, dude, Kinwald, dude,
yeah.
Eric Wilderson is so fast, dude. He's gonna be so hard to beat. I'm like, no, dude, he'll be fine, right? Like, and obviously Kinwald would win. And I remember it came down to the third A main, and I had to beat Eric to get second. And dude, I think I drove the race of my life to hold Eric off there, right? And Eric's just an awesome racer. Like, he wouldn't bump you or anything like that. But I remember Kinwald's like, I came off the driver's seat, he's all, dude, I've never seen you drive so good, dude. I gotta get the cigarette, dude.
All right, so we have another question here. So the one thing that we've been noticing on all these episodes is that everyone loves Stadium Truck, or everyone makes comments about Stadium Truck. We want it to come back in the Nitro 10 scale truck. So Greg Farber has a question for you. Anything in the works to update the Stadium Truck?
Yes and no. It's not happening anytime soon, but I mean, like, you know, kind of to Dakota's point, we're always working on new stuff. I know we've been out of Stadium Trucks for a while. That hasn't been intentionally. It's not because a new one's coming out. We're just trying to get more of the 22Ts back in, the 4.0. So I would definitely say there's nothing in the works in the immediate future.
Okay. All right. Brendan's got a comment here. Todd, what was your experience like traveling to South Africa? Given the chance, would you come back again? They're kind of growing their A-scale program back up again.
Yeah. So man, that was like the marathon trip. So 2 world championships. One was off road. The next one was on road. We went down there. I think we were down there for like 3 weeks. The experience of going down there was amazing. Beautiful country. Both tracks were awesome. The people were great. I remember the dollar was extremely strong there. So like, we went down there with a couple $100 and it was like we were rich. I remember us almost getting into a fight at one of the bars one night at the off-road race. Somebody actually did get punched out. I won't say who it was. It was nobody that was racing, though. I'll say that. Because he started messing with this rugby player, and this guy came up to me, and this guy is like bald head, right? He's like, "Hey, your buddy's messing with my boy over there." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "He's gonna get knocked out. You better watch it." And I'm like, "This guy's like 40 years old." And he's like, "Yeah, he's in my gang. You better be careful." And I'm like, "You're 40, dude. Like, who has gangs when you're 40?" You know? And I remember just standing there, and it was like out of a movie, and I just saw this rugby dude. He was ripped. He was huge. Just socked the crap out of this other guy who was there at the race with us.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, dang, it's going to get real. And it was like me, Matt Francis, Dunbar, he would just mouth off to anybody, right? Little pretty boy, and then go run, you know? So, like, you had to, like, shut up, you know? Dude, I thought we were going to die that night. We walked out of there unscathed, but yeah, when the 40-year-old dude tells you he has a gang, believe him. But outside of that, it was an awesome race. It was fun. Beautiful country.
All right, Ford Price makes a comment here. Todd, all you Ohio guys were GM speeders.
Yeah, GM. Yep, Ford Price. Man, Ford Price, that goes back to like the days of Mike Marshall and Top Gun races. Yeah, I love those guys.
All right, Nico's got a question here. Will there be an 8XE Elite?
Yeah, we have one coming. It's probably fair to say that there is one coming. I mean, we saw a good success off the 8X Elite version. We're out of stock of the other 8Xs, but it's definitely a ways out.
Okay. Nico's got another question here for Dakota. What class do you enjoy competing in the most? Stadium truck. Stadium truck.
That's a good question. I think honestly, it's probably changed a lot for me over the years. I would say definitely for sure it used to be stadium truck. I used to love that class, especially kind of when I made the transition from stock to mod. It was a lot easier to pick up, and I could get away with a lot more in truck. And then I always enjoyed full dive short course when that came out. Kind of the same reason, you could just send it everywhere and just have a lot of fun with it. I've always enjoyed two wheel just from all the work and effort that puts into it. It really kind of like pays off when you have success with it in the end. I'm definitely a 10 scale guy. I've listed all 10 scale electrics so far. But I think probably right now I'd probably say 4-wheel. The X4 has been just absolutely awesome, and just puts a smile on my face every time I get out there and just get to run it, whether it's a race or practice or whatever it may be.
Okay. But I think the best thing is, like, Dakota, what do you want your car to handle like? Just make it work as good as my 4-wheel buggy.
Todd, what's your favorite class? Scott?
Go ahead, Todd.
I would say, for off-road, it'd be 2-wheel drive buggy.
Stadium truck.
2-wheel drive for sure.
Yep.
For me,
all
anyways.
right. Keith has a question here for all of us. Thomas, why don't you go? Well, I don't know if Thomas can answer this one or not. So basically, Keith asks, what is your favorite, buggy or truggy?
So I guess 8 scale here?
Yeah.
Only?
Thomas, we will get you out there. Trust me. Todd, Dakota?
I would say buggy, just because it's more of a precise class.
Okay. Dakota?
Yeah, I'd probably say buggy too.
Okay. I won an RC Pro Series national championship in truggy, so I'm going to have to say truggy. Make it easy.
I'm a buggy guy.
We're going to get, Todd, we're going to take Thomas out to Eli Field and get him running some nitro and gas. He said he's never driven a gas truck before.
I've never driven anything nitro, actually.
Oh, nitro either. So
yeah,
we'll break him in.
It's just, it's like I said, it's hard when you're like working in the industry and you're at an event working. So I can't, it's like 8 scale buggy. It just takes so much to.
It does.
So I can't get all that stuff and bring all that stuff and try to work and do events at the same time. Whereas 10 scale, I could just kind of set up my carpet car and bring it along and never really make any changes. Tires all glued up quick and then just kind of run. So yeah, it's not like I have anything against 8 scale nitro stuff. It's just a lot of commitment to go run.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm in a position where I can't really race.
Well, we're going to get you out there, buddy.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Nothing like the smell of nitro in the morning. All right, so Maple Syrup has an odd question for you guys, which is actually a very good question. I've often wondered this sometimes. He asked, why are wheels only offered in white or yellow? Losi did red for Francis and blue for Kinwald. Is this a cost thing?
I think it just comes down to popularity, right? I mean, people prefer the white and yellow. I mean, when we did the red wheels and the blue wheels, I mean, we sold a few, but I mean, I think Matt was the only one who really ran his own wheels at the races. Kinwald was like, dude, I ain't doing that. Yeah, it just comes down to just, demand. There's just not a bunch of demand for the different colored wheels.
Okay.
I get why. I've always wondered about yellow because that was kind of before my time. But yeah, it's interesting how it ended up being yellow.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, Losi used to have the orange wheels, right? That was pretty popular there for a while.
Remember the discs? The wheel disc?
The disc? Yeah.
It was kind of cool that you could change your wheel disc. We used to like tape them with like different color fluorescents, and then so that way you have different color wheels, kind of essentially.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that with the double X and stuff.
What's funny, Max found a picture of my very first or actually my dad and mine, our very first buggies together. They were B3s, sitting side by side. And when I painted it, it was yellow, white, and green with white wheels. And Max is like, wait a minute, you have white wheels on there. I'm like, yeah. And I said, I also have green. He's like, how can you have green? Green's bad luck. I says, yeah, as soon as I painted that body, that's when my dad, Max's grandpa, says, you never paint a race car green, that's bad luck. And then I went with my paint scheme, and I've had the same paint scheme for 19 years now. So with that being said, Dakota, how long have you had your current paint scheme? Since the beginning?
I've had orange flames and a blue back since the very beginning. My mom just had a little notepad that she was kind of famous for, and she just kind of drew out one of those stick cars. Gave me some crayons, and I picked up orange, blue, and yellow. So for pretty much up until really last year, I've always had orange flames, blue in the back, and then checkers on the bottom. Recently, I kind of switched up a little bit, added some carbon, and took out the checkers. But it's been pretty much the same since the beginning.
Okay, Todd, you've had pretty close to the same paint scheme the whole time, right?
Oh no, man, that stuff has changed.
Okay.
This guy down here, Jeff Geltz, I think it had white, pink, and purple in it, and black in it at one time. But then Bradley started painting my bodies, and it kind of went that route of the flow yellow into the green, and then blue drips, and then white. So he kind of started that. So I would say probably since, I don't know, mid-90s, it's pretty much been the same.
Okay. All right. Another question here from KO. When will the Losi 8X Chuggy be released?
Am I supposed to answer that?
Yeah.
I'll give you a.
You're the boss, so we're gonna make you answer all those questions.
Yeah,
summertime.
Okay. William Garcia's got another question here. What are the pros and cons of brushed versus brushless mod motors?
Go ahead. Somebody want to answer that?
I think there's not many cons to brushless, man.
No. And are there any pros to brushed anymore?
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
If you're a tinkerer, I think maybe if you're a tinkerer, the brush days are cool because you're always tinkering on your motor. You're always kind of part of the speed package, Yeah,
especially in stock racing, right? 27-turn stock racing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It was, you'd set up your, your different brushes. You'd, leave them in calm drops overnight, or you'd have you have different cuts in them. You had different spring tensions. And then you had your little palm cleaners and doodads and knickknacks. And it was fun.
It was cool. It was cool.
You need Ernie on here asking that question. Hey, Ernie, what's the pros and cons of brushed and brushless? He'd be like, give me brush back, man. I sold so many of those motors.
Jeez. All right. So 1290 Swan has a
motors.
1290 Swan has a great question for Thomas. How many team drivers race for TLR, and what is the process of scouting future drivers?
Oh, man,
we just talked about this earlier today.
Yeah, so I guess what I've been learning is a lot of teams you see, but at the end of the year will have apply for this race team, for the next following year. So from what I've learned, TLR doesn't really operate that way, where we have an open application the way TLR has done it, which I think is actually kind of beneficial and unique, is that it's a lot of driver referrals. So, current team drivers, if they see people at the track that, they deem is fast and a good candidate to be a team driver, then, that information comes to me, and I'm able to, maybe connect with that person. through text or email, or get a racing resume sent to me, so then I can kind of keep it on file and start monitoring them. So as of now, if you want to be part of the TLR team, and because we're in this COVID-19 state, I'm not looking to add a lot of guys when we're not really racing. And so I'll start to kind of analyze and focus on adding more guys once things kind of look like we're going to go back to racing. And so, but if you do want to be considered, please just send an email to ttrain@horizonhobby.com or to the race team directly at tlrraceteam@horizonhobby.com.
Very good. Maple Syrup has a good question for Todd. Was Juka the first driver to bring Losi a four-wheel drive win?
I guess it depends how you look at it. If it's a world championship in four-wheel drive, yeah, it was Yuka, because he won the worlds in '99 at Finland. But I think.
Were you there at that one, Todd?
Yeah, I was there. But if it would have been nationals, I think it was Kinwald that won the '96 Roar Nationals with the Losi prototype XX4.
Okay. Ford Price. Todd, what was the last year you raced Cleveland?
I think it was 2006. Yeah, 2006. I believe so.
In what classes did you race there?
Touring mod and 12 scale mod.
Okay.
I broke my car in touring in the main, and then 12 scale, I got third.
Very cool. Mr. Rude has a question which we all want to know. What is your theme song, Todd? This should be good.
I have no idea. Like, I saw the question there, and I'm like, I don't know. House of Pain, Jump Around.
The king of theme songs, right there.
Crazy. Oh, Kevin Myers has got a great question. Very good question. Since we were actually talking about this earlier in one of our meetings, who is the most senior TLR team driver still running? That was kind of like what we were talking about earlier in the meeting about, how long some of these guys have been on the team, who's still around, who's been on the roster the longest.
The first person that comes to my mind is Mike Marshall.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
And, Ford Price has to be up there too. How old's Mike? Like 100? He was like 50.
Man.
How about Philip Acondo? Hasn't he been running for a long time for you guys?
Yeah, but he's probably
still fairly young.
Yeah, mid-40s. Mike has to be in his, I don't know, mid to late 50s, if not early 60s, and I know he's still running.
I'm probably in the top 10 now, pretty easily.
Oh yeah,
I might be a top 5 now. I was slowly working my way up the seniority list here.
Crazy. John Pease has a question for Dakota. What have you been doing to keep your skills sharp during this downtime?
Yeah, Dakota.
Great question. Doing, fortunately, I do have the ability to go run privately, indoor and outdoor. Unfortunately, I do live in Michigan, so outdoor is not really a thing yet with all the rain. But yeah, definitely been doing that and trying to keep steady. Redid my RC room, which needed it badly, very, very badly. So I had some time to do that, get that all ready, kind of, reorganize the parts, get all the cars ready to go and things like that.
Okay.
Dakota's kind of a hoarder, right?
Yeah. I have a hard time throwing stuff away. I gotta hire someone to come in and throw it away when my eyes are closed because I'm just
he'll just
I need that. What if I need that? You never know.
Don't throw that away. I need that. Wait, not that too.
I was missing that.
It's like, dude, this is one tire that matches nothing. Why do you need this?
Yeah. But no, I try to clean up a lot and kind of get rid of some of that stuff that, just parts and pieces and things like that. But I definitely keep a lot of like the old cars and stuff just to have just a lot of memories.
Okay. Todd, how about you?
What have I been doing to keep sharp? My Excel spreadsheets. I don't know.
Well, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy? I guess I should have rephrased that. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Working way too much. Honestly, it just goes back to my family and kids. After the day's over, making sure I'm spending time with the kids, which has been pretty awesome. Actually, it's been awesome to be home all the time and just seeing the kids throughout the day. As you've seen them pop in here during this, it's just good to kind of see them all the time, because when you're at work all day and you don't get to see them, it's just it's a lost opportunity. But we all got to work. So having this opportunity over the last month and a half has been really, really good.
So I just got a text from Mr. Sopa. I just want to let everyone who is watching know that Chapter 2 of the Losi 40th anniversary video programming is now live on the Losi Facebook page. So when you guys are done watching this broadcast, definitely jump over there. It's really good. It talks more about the racing. Got a special guest in there that's pretty awesome. Has some good stories to tell. So make sure you guys go and check that out when this is done.
Awesome.
Very cool. I'd ask Thomas what he's done during this time to keep busy, but I feel really bad asking him that because he's stuck in his little 1-bedroom room.
Yeah.
Hey, I offered to go riding with you.
It's been a weird experience. I know those who know me, my hobby outside of RCs and whatnot is cycling. I haven't rode my bike for a month.
Wow.
So I just kind of that's a different story. But I rode a lot when I was in Florida. Every free day I had, the weather was pretty nice there, so I had my riding. I got my riding in, so I'm not missing it. It's so now I'm just kind of focused on being here and doing my job and learning the job. So if I can pick that up faster, I think we can move forward quicker. So just kind of focusing on that right now.
Okay. Teddy Page. Hopefully you guys notice, but converted TLR 2.0 to 5.0 22 buggies are turning out to be great drag cars. 4 gear makes it hook.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they need more hookup.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and it's you would think just rear motor cars would be really good, or it's just the fact that people just have just so many mid motor cars through all the different variances that they're running mid motors. But to me, it would just make sense that a rear motor car should hook up way better than any of the mid motor stuff. So.
Especially when you get those wheelie bars on there, it seems like most of the cars have.
Yep. So I see a comment here from Mike Marshall asking about the new Truggy. Hey, Mike, can you comment on here how long you have been on the TLR race team?
Mike Marshall?
Yeah. Yeah, weren't you guys saying that he's probably one of the longest running guys?
Yeah, and it looks like he's the comments below. He's 61, so my comment of 100 is a little off. Although Bradley Farmer said 110, so he's actually he's in the doghouse over me.
Let's see here. Let's see what else we got here. I came up with Matt. It's it's interesting. So we've talked about this when we had Brandon on here. Is like it's interesting how people have their paint schemes, and when you get new people that come into the hobby, they're like, "Why do people paint everything the same?" And like we say, is because you get so used to racing with someone that when you're like Dakota, when you're out there racing, at the Nitro Challenge, when you see a blue, white, and pink car come up, it's Mayfield. Or you see a red, you know who it is, and it actually helps you race that person better or race them differently. We talk Yeah, and we talked about having, like the RC Pro Series used to do, where they have assigned numbers. So you ran the numbers on your car that were your numbers. So everywhere you went, people knew you by your number. It was funny because Matt Del Giudice made a comment on here that I came up with his paint scheme in 2002. And he's had that same exact paint scheme, since then. And it's just nice to know it's nice to know who you're racing sometimes. Then
for sure.
Predictable, so to speak. So Frank has a comment here. The pros of brush stock motors, they were $30.
Yeah, very true, Frank.
And then you dumped about $200 in brushes and comms and everything else.
Yeah, every race.
Magnet. Remember the magnet zappers that people would get out this gigantic magnet zapper and everyone would run out the door while they hit the button?
Yeah.
Oh, those things were scary.
Stock racing, man.
Oh, so here, Frank, put up Frank's next comment there.
Break it like your Hodge. Break it like your Hodge.
Yeah, so, okay, that's my thing.
I hear stories about this.
Dude, I break everything. Dude, if these guys want to test it, I break it. Like, I remember one time, they did it multiple times. It even goes back to breaking body parts, like human body parts, which is kind of funny now. It wasn't funny at the time it happened, and Frank knows this very, very clearly. But like we get test parts in, and I'm like, they'll be out in the parking lot or out in the field testing. I'm like, let me drive it, and they're like, just don't break it. And dude, I'll just do something stupid and just blow the thing into pieces. And I remember one time we made these caster blocks out of rapid prototype material, and it was kind of early on in rapid prototyping. And we were at Revelation, and Revelation always had those stupid jumps. And I put the parts on my car because I was going to test them out, and I don't know what it was, dude. I saw the big jump and I just went for it, right? And dude, both front tires just went. And Drake's like, dude, you were supposed to roll around the track.
You did this with me last time you were at Rev.
Oh, I did?
With my car. Yeah.
Yeah, it all blurred together anymore. And I remember one time.
I thought.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought I remember like talking with somebody about a story like I don't remember if it was like Dan or someone had like hand built a car and you were driving around in the office or something and it just blew it apart.
Yeah, it was the 22T stadium truck, and Dan was trying to tell me how good the steering geometry felt on the truck, and he's like, "Here, drive it in the office, but be careful, like, just it's rapid prototype parts, like the steering turnbuckles or something like that." And Dan spent all this time putting them on. I'm sitting there driving in the office, and I'm like, "Ooh, this thing has traction." I punched it. The thing really went into the cubicle and blew the front end off. I'm like, "Man, don't work that good." And I handed it to the transfer. Dude, I think he took the truck and smashed it into the bottom of his desk. He was so mad at me. So, like, I'm known to break stuff, right? Whenever we go out and test, or like, just don't give it to Todd, he'll break it. And so, like, I'm very conscious about making sure I don't overdrive it. But then I get excited, right? I'm just like, But so my son actually broke his wrist with an RC car, not on purpose. So I had this 22 with like a 13.5 motor on it, right? And it was like kind of his car, and we would be out in the street driving it, and I would turn the throttle trim up and down, or the limiter, so it'd be slow for him, but then I'd make it fast. And he's like, "Dad, drive it through your legs as fast as you can, like on the sidewalk," right? And I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna do this, right? I'm gonna show my kid how I can drive the car through my legs, And I thought he was standing next to me. Well, I was so focused on the car coming towards me, he got on his hands and knees and he was looking at underneath my legs.
Oh,
the car went through my legs, and I just heard it hit him. And he just started screaming. And here I hit him like right here in the wrist and broke his wrist. And he's screaming. His arm comes up and it's got a big old dent in it. And I can tell it's broken. I call my wife. I'm like, "I just broke Brady's arm, And I'm like just beside myself. And she's like, "You didn't break his arm. It's an RC car. I didn't gonna break his arm." Sure as anything, man. He goes to the hospital, comes back with a cast all the way up to here, Yeah.
wow.
So I think I don't know. It was for a while on my Facebook page. There was a photo of me and my son. There's a 5T flipped over, and Brady standing there with a cast on it. It says Brady on it. that was the cast where I broke his arm. And so I was talking to Frank and Mike that night, like text message. I'm like, dude, I'm not in the mood to talk right now. I just broke my kid's arm with an RC car. And I'm like, I said, don't even start with the comments, dude, because, dude, I'm going to light you up. And they're like, okay, good. And it took me a couple months to get over it, because like you do something like that to your kid, you're just like, you're beside yourself. And so he goes to the hospital, obviously. And my wife's like, yeah, they kept asking, like, what happened? What happened? And he kept repeating, my dad ran into me with an RC car, right? Because they get kids coming in there and their parents are saying, hey, I did, for child abuse and stuff. And
Yeah.
they kept asking him. He's just like, oh, my dad ran into me with this RC car, And I'm like, yeah, that's probably a first.
Jeez.
Yikes.
All right. So Dean Clark has a question. What's the next kit to come out? That's a loaded question. We can't say.
We're always working on new things.
I told you. Yeah, I got it from him.
All right. So William Garcia has a question here. What's the best new innovation in RC lately? And what's the next big change you see coming, kind of like LiPo batteries?
Man, what's the
$1,000,000 question?
Yeah, as of
Tire
lately,
warmers.
tire warmers are over. I mean, in RC in general, I think the cool thing is all of this smart technology that we're getting in our products, to be able to program your speed controls via Bluetooth. Spectrum had released a bunch of new telemetry stuff in our products to where you're going to be able to see your battery capacity on your transmitter, so you know how much runtime roughly that you have left. So it's just trying to figure out those solutions that make the consumer's experience better. So what's the next big change in RC?
What would you like to see changed?
It would be awesome if we could figure out nitro engines to make them easier to tune, to where you take the guesswork out of it. Because at the end of the day, you still have people that love to hear an engine run, right? Anytime you hear a hot rod or you listen to a four-stroke dirt bike, I mean, would Supercross be the same if they were all electric bikes? Would NASCAR be the same if it was just electric cars? People still want to hear those engines. So if you could, one, make the tuning, just take all the guesswork out of it, to where somebody could just drop an engine in and go run it and not have to understand a fuel mixture and stuff like that. And then improve the runtime on the nitro engines as well. I think that could be pretty huge for RC and possibly bring back, engines back into the gas engines back into the mix. We kind of tried it a few years back with the double XL gas edition. We didn't do, we thought we had something there using gas. Unfortunately, the oil was really expensive and the engine durability wasn't that good, but the runtime was there, the power was there. You still had to understand how to tune it. So I think it just goes back to tuning nitro engines. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can make it to where you just take that guesswork out, I think that would be pretty big.
Okay, interesting. Dakota, Max wants to see an RC room tour.
All right, I can do it. It's clean. It's clean now, so.
Yeah, definitely need to do that. Let's see here. Maple syrup. When developing the 22X4, did TLR purchase other competitors' four-wheel drive kits and decide what they liked and what they could improve upon?
I would say absolutely. I mean, we do that across the board. I mean, you have to see what your competition's doing, how you can improve on it. The 22X4 does look similar to the other cars. I really think that four-wheel drive racing has done what touring car has done, to where it kind of narrowed it down to where certain platforms, configurations of those platforms work, which is why we went that route. Another thing is just time to market. If we want to just really go outside the box and test something crazy and have no idea if it works, we would have been another year or two out. So we couldn't wait that long. So yeah, I mean, we do that across the board and look at other people's cars, and it's just good to see what other people are thinking about and honestly what they're missing, because there's a lot of times they're just like, wow, what did they do? Why did they do this? Both in good ways and bad ways. I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at cell phones, I'm sure Apple's buying Samsung and Samsung's buying Apple to try to figure out what they're doing and trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, Apple was not the first company to come out with an MP3 player. They were the first company to come out with the iPod, and they made the experience a lot better for the consumer. And that's why the iPod was successful.
Yep. This is an interesting question from Teddy Page, and this has actually come up a couple of times. How come nobody paints their wings anymore? It's weird. It's come up a couple of times now talking about painted wings.
I think it's kind of easy.
I think it makes the car look like it's riding a lot higher. The car doesn't look as so low. Because I remember, this was years ago, but when we were you guys still Scotch Brite the wings. But I was like, I'm going to run a painted wing. I put it on the car, and I'm like, man, my car looks just wrong going around the track. And maybe to Scott's point earlier, you just kind of adapt to what everybody else is doing. I'm sure if Dakota went out and smoked everybody at a couple nationals this year with a painted wing, you'd probably see some more painted wings.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong, okay? This goes back to when I was a team manager for Futaba and Checkpoint and all that, when we had Tebow. He was running for Associated and running Checkpoint, so that's why I was involved with him. I remember at a Worlds in Japan, I think that's the year he won four-wheel drive, where all the drivers showed up with clear wings. And then the IFMAR said you couldn't run the clear wings. They had to be painted, but no one had paint, so they started scuffing the wings, and that's where the whole scuffing of the wings started from. Have you ever heard of a rule where you couldn't run the crystal clear wing? Like back in the day? Not back in the day, but...
I vaguely remember something going on with that.
Okay. Yeah, it was just it was a weird thing.
Well, and I think another thing that with the clear wings, right? Nobody wanted to see the glossy look. And then the fact that you went through wings possibly so much, right? That's the first thing that bends and gets all tweaked on the car. So it's just easier to sit there and Scotch Brite it than to, have another wing painted. Because back in the day, Kinwald would actually have his trim scheme delivery kind of running up at an angle on the wing. And it just gets to the point where like you're racing so much and running so much to have all those wings just on standby it's kind of a waste.
Yeah. And you crash and then you scratch it and it's already Scotch Brite's already scratched, so it just kind of like adds to the scuffed look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays also like there's so many different wings now. Like you don't just run one wing. There's 15, 20 different options between all the different, manufacturers and stuff. So there's just so many options. It would be pretty hard.
How often do you use a wing for tuning, Dakota?
I don't change wing like styles a lot. Obviously, when I switched to a JC this year, kind of like went through. They have a lot of wing options, so I went through all those. And I do run a different wing on 2-wheel and 4-wheel, and then I will change kind of the height of the back, just depending on the grip level. I definitely have like a standard wing option that I normally run.
So why do you run a different wing on 2-wheel and 4-wheel?
For me, it's just about flow. So I usually will find the wing that flows the best and then kind of go from there. So I feel like the 2-wheels and 4-wheels obviously drive a little bit different. So just finding that wing that feels like it matches with the car the best, it flows the best on the track, and then you can tune grip and jumping and things like that pretty easily. And then 8-scale, I feel like with a lot of manufacturers and a lot of different cars, and different tracks and stuff, we've actually been kind of like switching up the wings quite a lot and running different wings depending on the tracks.
Interesting. Okay. Maple Syrup has another comment here. It seems like Losi is last to the party regarding shaft drive, but may ultimately take over from this point forward. Interesting comment.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to, we did our due diligence. We needed a four-wheel drive car, so we figured out what we needed to do. The guys worked their butts off to get that car to market. I mean, Dakota's run amazingly with it. Other team guys have run good with it. So, yeah, I mean, definitely last to the party, but I think we have something pretty amazing.
Yep. Max has a comment on here, Todd, that I will back him up 100%. So, you know Kyle Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, him and you are the same exact way when it comes to driving cars and video shoots and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. If someone's going to break it, it's going to be Kyle.
All right.
Definitely going to break it.
You got one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. You're good.
Midwest, not East Coast.
All right, Midwest.
All right, let's see here. Okay, Teddy Page has a comment here. And Todd, you may know this. Does anyone do the scavenger hunts at the races still? One year with Kinwall in Oklahoma, a guy ended up on the roof of the hotel to get the hawkbird dummy that was there to scare him. Okay, is there more to this story, Todd?
This is news to me.
Okay, all right.
Oh, wow, look at that. My part of the hunt was to buy ice cream and a swimsuit at McDonald's and run back to the hotel. It was like 10 degrees and snowing.
Wow.
That's
I kind of remember that scavenger hunts, man. Like, that was a part of a track thing back in the day, I remember.
Let's see here. Mini 8 is discontinued. Okay. Razor RC asked, Mini 8 is discontinued. Is a 2.0 something important to Losi?
Yeah, we were actually talking about something like that the other day. I'm possibly doing some updates to that and bringing that back out. So, yeah, I would definitely say it's important. I mean, we've seen just amazing success with the Mini T 2.0. So there's definitely probably something there.
All right, Teddy Page. Whoops, I just lost it. So Teddy Page asks, I need TLR banners. Well, I am happy to say that I just got an email today that the warehouse just received all of our new banners. So they should be in stock, I would say, probably within a week to a week and a half, just because the warehouse is obviously down on staff right now. But we did just get all of our new banners in stock. So should be on the shelves, I'd say, within a week and a half. Let's see here. Dean Clark asks, will the 8XE be in stock soon?
2 weeks. That's a running joke.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, oh, okay.
I gotta get that in order.
I was like, that's good news. I can get one soon.
I remember we'd go to honor races and we'd be working on the Jerixis Type R, and guys would be like, when's it coming out? I'm like, 2 weeks. So it was just kind of a joke. I think somebody set it up there earlier. Like Marshall said it. So we'll be in stock soon. I would say summertime. You got something to look forward to.
All right. So we're pretty much caught up on questions here. So let's see here. Nico asks, with more indoor tracks switching to carpet, do you think it's just a fad or the wave of the future for 1/10 scale?
I think it's a wave of the future. It just seems like it's easier for tracks to manage their track as far as changing layouts and stuff. The only thing I'm concerned about is just tire wear, and it getting expensive for people, and just how fast the cars can be, and maybe does it get a little too technical for them? Where dirt, doesn't seem as technical. I don't know. What do you guys What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Dakota. Sorry.
I mean, I don't think it's ever gonna like take over dirt. It definitely seems like it's here to stay. I think probably the main benefit to it is like what Thomas is talking about. There's a little bit less setup I think involved once you kind of get it dialed in, and then just the ability for the tracks to change the layouts. I mean, they just have the carpet base, and then they just move jumps and the 2x4s around. So pretty quick and easy. And then tracks can also do on road and off road, a day apart, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, so there's actually a guy out here in California, his name's Brian Wright, who has a traveling carpet track. So he just goes around and sets up his carpet track for one day of racing, has a trailer and everything, driver stand. And it's pretty cool, right? So it's mobile, it pulls people in, like he'll set it up in a Hooters parking lot. So it's kind of pulling those people in, they start asking questions. So that's really cool. And I think from like, if you're considering you're going to build a track and you need to go lease a building, if you sit there and tell somebody with a building like, hey, I'm going to put dirt in here and have an off-road RC track, they're like, dirt? Yeah, and I'm going to water it every night. And they're thinking mold, mildew, and they're like, whoa. If you sit there and say, well, I'm going to be putting this carpet like, miniature golf track in, right? And people are going to come here, I'm going to have a hobby shop. I'm sure it's probably a little bit easier to get leases for that stuff.
Yeah, the one thing I've kind of made this comment on the last few episodes is I started running some on-road again this past winter and fell in love with it again. So my friend's like, well, you need to stick around and run off-road, because they'll run on-road Friday night, on-road Saturday morning, and then off-road Saturday night. So when I stuck around and I drove an actual carpet off-road car, I was hooked. I mean, if someone came to me and said you need to pick what you want to do for the rest of your life, I would take carpet. And to Dakota's point too, you can not only can you run off road, but you can run on road and you can run oval. You can run all three genres that there are on one track, and it just the setup. And that's the part that there's very few tracks around the country like OCRC or what's the one in Arizona that has
Hobby Action.
Hobby Action. I mean, there's very few tracks like that in the country. A lot of them are these older buildings that unfortunately, aren't the greatest. And Todd made the comment, and I don't know of any indoor off-road track that hasn't at one time or another fought the mold problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks. It's a bad part about it, but yet, and then to like what Dakota was saying, you put in your layout, if everyone shows up and all of a sudden after, an hour of practice, everyone says, well, these jumps aren't working. They just don't work at all. You move them. It takes you 30 seconds to move the jump, change the track, and now everyone loves it. So that's where I agree. I think it is the wave of the future. I don't think it'll take over dirt, but I think it is. I think there will be a lot more carpet tracks than we see now. But okay. William Garcia has a question, which will be a tough one for you guys to answer, but I'll ask anyway. Is there anything you can talk about that's coming out new from Losi, or is there anything new that you're really excited about that you can talk about?
Wow. There's not much we can talk about. Is there anything that I'm excited that I can talk about? I really can't talk about it, but I will say that we have a bunch of cool stuff coming out. I think people are going to be blown away with some of the stuff we're coming out with.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, can't say much more other than there's some really cool stuff that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and and Todd, I sent that email out a couple of weeks ago where I was praising everyone. The stuff we have coming, the attention to detail, I've never ever seen anything like that in RC, like we're going to be doing. It's amazing. It's next level stuff. Yeah, and we're going to continue doing that.
bunch of cool stuff.
Yep.
I wish I could say more.
Yeah, definitely. Austin has a question for Dakota. How did you get your 22X4 so light? Did you do anything else, or other than titanium everything and composite diff gears?
Yeah, just the composite stuff, and then the TLR titanium turnbuckles, Lunsford titanium screws, ceramic bearings. Yeah, I mean, not anything special. The car is super light out of the box, and then just doing all the composite stuff and the titanium stuff really adds up quick. So actually, at quite a few races, I've actually had to add weight back in my car. So.
Well, how about your battery? Do you know which battery? Is it like a super slim pack or?
Yeah, so right now I'm running the Trinity, the RevTech 4000 LCG pack, but they do have a new white carbon 4100 pack coming out here pretty soon. I've been working on with Kevin, so excited about that. And that will be, I think, coming out next week here.
And then, do you run a brass plate underneath your battery?
No.
All right. Kevin Abbott asks, will TLR release shirts that is not a dry fit material? Yes, we have some in the works right now. I am in 100% agreement with you.
Why? I like the dry fit stuff.
Yeah, especially when you get all fat like me, man. It's just like, I can breathe.
The dry fit, okay, not to get weird on you guys, the dry fit tends to smell more.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Oh no! So it's not like the fabric attracts the odor.
Well, okay. This is going to sound really weird. This is my theory on it, which is probably completely off base. Okay, so when we play hockey, Max and I play hockey, we wear dry fit, top and bottoms. That's just what you do, and you sweat so much that your sweat in all the water that's coming out of you washes away, let's say, the odor in your sweat, where in the dry fit t-shirts, you don't sweat enough to wash away the odor. Does that make any sense? So that's why we've always noticed that the dry fit shirts tend to stink more, kind of thing. That's just odd.
It seems like it's really like 50-50 on those shirts if people like them or not. It's really kind of like a toss-up.
Yeah, for me, the dry fit stuff is nice just because I wear them a lot. So when I wash them, the regular cotton shirts just kind of get messed up and faded, so it looks kind of nasty. So
yeah,
all the shirts I got from JC, they were all special because they were all dry fit. And but I do know that there's some polyester material or lycra material that that actually retain the smell of body odor versus being able to expel it away. So to me, it's like a combination of the material that kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure if it absorbs or wicks or whatever it's doing. It doesn't do it as well, so the smell stays. Because I've had I used to have these compression bottoms and tops, and I would wear that stuff for 10 minutes, and then they'd already start to smell, and I'm like, what? I haven't even done anything,
Yeah.
So, but there's some other plastic material, polyester stuff that's actually doesn't retain any of the smell. So.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a couple more questions here, and then we're going to have to call it a night on this.
Yep.
So let me see here. I just saw one here. Nico asks, why are team members 8XE setups seem so secret? They never seem to be shared when they are ran on so many different track surfaces.
I think that's just the fact that we're not doing our job good. There's nothing for us to hide, and I'll definitely look into that because, we're not trying to be secretive. It's just a lot of the guys are working on so many different things. It's just some of the things fall through the cracks. So it's pretty much probably what's going on there.
Okay. All right. I will take the last question of the night since it's directed at me. Question for Scott. You said you were going to be trying a 1/10 scale chuggy. Yeah, basically what we saw is that there were quite a few people that took the 22.4 and we're converting them into kind of the 10 scale truggy things. So Max and I started looking at the 22X4 and the different, bits and bods, and we think we can easily put together kind of a 110 scale truggy out, using the 22X4. So we're probably going to start that in the next week or two. I've got some other projects that I need to finish up, and then once we get that going, we'll kind of share our progress and show you guys, if it's even possible to do it. So on that note, why don't you guys kind of close it out and we can go from there.
And I can't believe we've been on for over 2 hours. It seems like it's been 20 minutes.
It goes quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good conversation. I'd like to just say thanks for everybody for watching. I really enjoyed it. A bunch of good conversation and good memories that kind of go back upon. So just thanks to everybody. Thanks for Thomas and the team for putting this all together.
Okay. Dakota?
Honestly, it's great to see your faces. Like, we're not anymore, so it's like it's great to see people's faces.
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool doing these videos. It's cool to have Todd on this week, and definitely bring back memories. Just appreciate what we're doing, and thank you guys for all the support.
Cool. Thomas, take us out.
All right, guys. Thanks. Every time we do one of these episodes, I always learn something from these interviews, from the questions that come in, just the direction that the concerns that people have. It's honestly very good feedback for us to kind of interact with everybody that's viewing and keeping everybody up to date with, a lot of questions coming in about product releases. We got Todd here to really, give you some answers or some roundabout answers, I guess. But it's important to us that everybody has, especially in this time period where, we're not able to go out and enjoy the hobby. But this way, there are a lot of benefits that we get to create. So being online with Todd right now, learning his stories, and for me, it's been a nice insight to hear some of his racing past. Being able to understand where he comes from and where his racing background is and things like that. It's nice to kind of put everything, all the pieces together, even though we're not able to race. So it's kind of cool to see the community come together and have these type of talks and conversation and events just to get, everybody talking about racing and keeping everybody interested. Because I have a feeling we'll be back racing before we realize.
Definitely. So, all right, I'm going to end this. We have one last question on here. Tom Bolger wants one last dad joke for the road.
All right, I got it. You ready?
Okay. I got one too.
All right. 2 dad jokes for the road. I wonder if I can beat Scott on this one.
Competition.
Why did the football coach go to the bank?
I already know the answer.
I know, but to get his quarterback.
Oh.
Nice.
That's
All right. Okay.
I like
So-
it. It's simple. That one's simple.
This one could be directed towards Todd because he has younger kids. So if a child refuses to sleep during nap time, are they guilty of resisting arrest? Okay, maybe not.
I think I got that one. I think I won.
Yeah, you got that one.
I think Todd evens it up right there.
Yeah,
So on that note, thanks everybody for tuning in and be part of this show. Next week we got another guest. I'm not going to name any names until next week, but we appreciate it. Want to thank Todd for coming on and being part of this. It was a great opportunity for everybody, not including myself, to learn more about Todd and be involved in the TLR family here. So thanks guys for watching. Thanks everybody for participating. We'll see you next week. Stay safe.
Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See you.